Okay. Hey, y'all. This is Stevie with Red Economics. Tonight, I have Shelley Carter with us, and we're going to be going over the NCID, which is the National Citizens Initiative for Democracy. So, just to start off with, Shelley, it's good to have you on here. I know we were supposed to do this on Saturday, but better late than never. But so, what got you interested with the NCID?
Probably most likely the Mike Gravel's book, Failures of Representative Government and the Solution. It came out in early 2020, and it was right after Bernie got screwed over by the DNC. So that was a huge part of it. And but the whole push for it really came after they tried to do that whole coup thing on January 6th.
All right. And so just to start off with, what actually is the NCID?
So what it is, it's a petition to get direct democracy through these two pieces of legislation. The Citizens Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which is like the main base, and then the Legislative Procedures Act, which allows the process for the initiatives to get passed into law.
So with this, we'd be able to introduce our own laws.
Yes.
Right. So it's kind of like bypassing the corrupt politicians in a sense.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Now, this is extremely important because I've been talking about taking our power back for like a year now. And it's just like we keep giving our power to these politicians and they're doing nothing with it. And then on top of that, it's like, well, I mean, if we're smart enough to pick a politician, why can't we just do it ourselves? Cut out the middleman.
That's what this does. And I have to applaud you for this. You've already made the realization that you have that power and that you're giving it away. That's one of those educational curves that people kind of have to make that realization of, I have the power to make the change. So that's double thumbs up for getting that.
Thank you. And it goes right in line with what we're trying to do over at nonpartyvoters.org, which is, taking the power back, for yourselves instead of giving it away constantly. I know that in one of the interviews that I think that you sent me, or I saw in the petition, Mike Gravel was talking about how, even if we create a new party, a third party, a fifth party, I mean, these problems are going to keep coming up no matter what. Because,
they're still representatives. They're still going to represent you, and no one's going to represent you better than you. So you should have the power to represent you.
Right. So the petition, I know it's got, what was it, like 300 million that you need to sign?
65 million.
65 million. That's a lot less. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think if more people hear about this, I think people would jump on board with this completely. I mean, this is exactly what we need right now. So what would be the first step in getting this accomplished?
The first step would be educating yourself on the process and what it is it can offer you. Then it would go to signing the petition. And the main point of the petition is to show that there's support for this legislation. Mm-hmm. The petition by no means will automatically make it. There still needs to be a national vote. There still needs to be held, and paper ballots need to be sent out, and then they need to be filed. But the petition will show support to get that done.
Right. So it kind of puts pressure on them.
Yeah. And the petition is actually targeted at the Gravel Institute, who started last year, and they're designed to finish his life's work. So that kind of goes hand in hand. Plus, they already qualify as a nonprofit, which is one of the requirements for Philadelphia 2 in the legislation that he refers to that does the national vote.
Well, that sounds great. I'll put all the links for all these things in the description box. So there's the what was it called again? The institute, that one?
Oh, the Gravel Institute.
The Gravel Institute. check that one out. There's a couple of videos on there explaining some things. There's another website that I was using a lot, and I think that has the link on the petition.
Yeah, the petition's on Action Network, and it's the petition's called Hold a National Vote.
Okay, so I'll put the petition link, and then there's a website that's ncid.us that, I mean, there's a ton of information on there. I mean, for like days now, I've been like going through all this, taking notes and trying to understand all this. I mean, it's there's a lot to it, but it's simple. You know, it's not, it's worth reading through all of it. So,
and it's very educational.
Yeah.
I've learned so much just from looking into it. And it's been going on, it seems like, for a very long time now.
Yeah. So the first step is going and signing the petition. And then after that, once it's got a lot of support behind it, then we can use that to put pressure on the politicians to, it's a constitutional amendment, right? That we have to do? Okay.
Yes.
Which I know that there's a lot of groups out there right now that are trying to do that, like get a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics or you know, and stuff like that. But this one is the one, like the umbrella for all the other ones.
Yeah.
So if we focus on this one and get this one accomplished, this constitutional amendment, it fixes all the other ones.
Correct. Yes.
So, okay. And what happens is we get the constitutional amendment, and then what? Like it passes, and then, so if you want to make a law, how does that work?
So the law process of like, is there a specific law you'd like to pass if you had a...
Get money out of politics.
Money out of politics. All right. So what you do is Philadelphia 2 that passes it, the group that passes it becomes the First Citizens Trust, and they sort of are the secretary's bookkeeper for the citizens legislature.
Mm-hmm.
Now you'd call them up and say, hey, I have an idea on how to get money out of politics. And then they talk to an attorney, get a draft put together. And then this is sort of the main important part, is you have to put together a national poll and get 40% in favor of getting money out of politics. And it has to be completely like self-funded. The trust can't have anything to do with it. The people have to want it.
Right. So you get a poll, it has to get at least 40%, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And then from there, once you get 40% in favor of the legislation, then it will go all the way to a vote. Just the steps to do so. Let me see. Let's see. I took notes for this.
Yeah, I had to take a lot of notes too, just to even get a basic understanding of all this.
Yeah, I got to give it to Mike Gravel. He's kind of a genius for coming up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get 40% or more, the trust puts the legislation on their website, and it's open for a national hearing for a week where people can put their input in, experts can weigh in, and kind of go over how it would affect everyone and what it means in the outcome. And then after the hearings, there's a small deliberative body of like 30 people at most, and they go through and sort of iron out the fine details. And then the deliberations are sent to Congress for a yes or no vote, and they would have 90 days to do so. Now that's a non-binding vote. It's purely advisory because Congress is part of the lawmaking process. So we just kind of like, hey, this is happening, just so you know. And then the legislation is scheduled for a vote. The voting, there'd be a whole week to do a vote. So you wouldn't have like one day between a certain time. You'd have a whole...
You're cutting up there a little bit. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, sorry. So once a vote is scheduled and it happens, you have 7 days to do a vote. And that means that we can have up to 52 different laws passed per year, which I've tried. It is impossible to come up with 52 different pieces of legislation.
Yeah.
I challenge everybody to do so. It is very difficult. But then once you have the vote scheduled and you can either get a yes or no that it passes. If you get a no, the vote stops there, no further. If you get a yes, it's scheduled for a second vote 6 months down the road, because this is lawmaking, it's permanent. So, and then 6 months later, if it's also yes, then there's an announcement made and you have a law.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that goes, because I was reading through some of like the questions, common questions that people have about, direct democracy, which is, well, what's to stop people from just, making up whatever kind of law they want, or, like throw everybody named Pete out of the state, just make them illegal. You can't have Pete's in the United States anymore. And so that goes to the polling. So you have to have, a certain percentage in the polling. It has to be an actually, popular idea. And then it has to go through the board, which can, finalizes it. And then it goes through the 2 votes, right? So, yeah. So with all those measures in place, we're not going to have all, a ton of frivolous or, ridiculous, laws that would, only help the minority of people, which is what we have right now, basically.
I mean,
Stuff
yeah,
that
that's
nobody
true.
wants and only helps a few people.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, after like the first 25 or 30 laws, everything would pretty much calm down, and people would get their frustrations out. There wouldn't be this whole our lawmakers aren't listening to us, because they wouldn't have a choice to. So you could do things like hold them accountable, pass healthcare, cut taxes, raise wages. Like the the trickiest part about this, I guess I would say, or I'd want to point out, is that right now the people are kind of in this like, there's no way for them to make laws in any type of form. So by making laws and having awareness, they'd have to take responsibility for the laws they make or don't make, because you won't have to participate in it. But by not participating in it, you've made a choice not to participate in it, versus you don't have one now.
Yeah. And the other thing that I like about this is the amount of like personal responsibility, like you were talking about, and the fact that like, more people, it's going to be more of a discussion instead of, politics being this taboo thing of, you're not supposed to talk about it. More people are going to become educated about how things happen, what's going on, like instead of just reacting like emotionally, like a knee-jerk reaction to things. So, I mean, I think it would be great, in multiple ways. So,
I would like to mention, if it's okay with you, there's a great YouTube channel that I'm kind of putting out for everyone to educate themselves on it. It's Overwritten with Dack Rouleau, and he goes over this amazing interview with Mike Gravel on how to do this. And I love the points they touch on with responsibility. And there's a lot of other stuff too, but mainly the responsibility point is right now, everyone's sort of Congress, government, that's their mama bear. Because, and I personally think it's just time to cut the cord. Like,
yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah, I mean, we're trusted enough to pick these politicians, but somehow if we want to come up with a law, we all of a sudden we don't know what we're talking about. And we know what affects us. We know personally these people that these, millionaires and billionaires controlling things right now, they don't know what it's like to live like the 99%. I mean, we do. We know exactly where the problems are and what it's going to take to fix it. Like in the middle of a pandemic, hey, people need health insurance. That's step one. So yeah, that's awesome. And that is definitely worth the watch. It's a little bit over an hour long. I already posted on Twitter, but
thank you.
It's amazing. I mean, I love the concept of he was talking about our sovereignty and how,
Yes.
we're born sovereign, and yes, until we're 18, we have our, guardians, but, once we're released into adulthood, we are fully actualized human beings that get to decide things. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's brilliant. Definitely worth the watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's the way the process is set up right now. It's a miracle that AOC even got into Congress, because I mean, they basically tried to break her neck for her not to get into Congress. But then for all of us to try and go through that to get the one thing that we wanted, it's it's insanity.
Yeah, and we see what happens to people over time, and uh, you know, people that start out with, the best of ideas and intentions, and the system just has a way of wearing them down, and until where, they're just, eventually they end up just repeating the same things over and over again, like the rest of them. It's sad to watch, but that's why we can't have heroes. We need to take responsibility.
And do it ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and then no more finger pointing. It's us.
Yeah,
We get
like,
to make the choice.
yeah, it's on you.
Yeah. So let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and check in with chat and see if there's any questions over there. If I can find.
Let me make sure I covered everything. So I did want to touch on one thing, which is where the 65 million number comes from, because for it to be legal, there needs to be a precedent on where where our ability to pass this amendment comes from. And this one's actually really cool. I didn't know this, and it's definitely very much forgotten history, but the Articles of Confederation came before the Constitution we have now. So the Convention of Philadelphia, which is where Philadelphia 2 gets its name, is sort of the precedent. 9 of the 13 states at the time chose to break away. So by saying 2/3 vote gives the majority of the majority has law of the land with the 2/3 vote. And but with this specific way to do it, we sort of, instead of having 50 states pass and get together and have a constitutional convention, we just go straight to the people. And the number comes from the last presidential election, which is the only national election we have. So 2/3 people from the last presidential election is enough to amend the Constitution.
Wow.
So it's pretty deep, pretty real.
So 2/3 of the people that already voted, if they support this, then we can get it.
Yes.
That's amazing. So I mean, it's not asking anybody to do anything that they haven't already done.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, okay, now that it makes that 65 million a lot more attainable, because when you see that 65 million, it's like, oh my gosh, how can we do that? But I mean, heck, these are people that already voted. So it's not like you're trying to get like a bunch of non-voters out, or, and honestly, I think that this would get a lot of non-voter support, because I think the reason that they're not voting is because really there's nobody, to support really.
Yeah. And this would just be supporting yourself. It wouldn't be anything more than that.
Yeah. It wouldn't have any of the division of, the hot button issues or anything like that they use to, keep us divided. I mean, this is giving people things, or, taking it back for yourself, really. And that was the other thing in that interview that you were talking about. Mike Gravel kept talking about, what is that? Hold on, it'll come to me. It was the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
And how that is the document that we really should be modeling ourselves after, because that is like the true spirit of like what America should be, because when you read through that, it is wild. It is wild. All the things that we, fought a war over, created our own country over, are the things that we're guilty of today. So
yeah,
I mean, I
still need to fight for.
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool to see him point that out, because I remember I went through and read the Declaration of Independence like a couple years ago. And I was like, oh gosh, this sounds familiar. Oh no, it's happening. So yeah, this is basically our Declaration of Independence. Like we can take care of our country.
And I mean, we already have the power to amend the Constitution. This is just allowing a process for people to do so.
Right. So yeah, I mean, this when you're reading through like all the legal like jargon and stuff on there, I had to keep looking up definitions. I'm like, what's an initiative? What's a referendum?
Yes.
So it can seem a little complicated and like overwhelming, but yeah, the way you're explaining, it's like, oh, okay, well, we can do this. We can do this, like for sure.
Yeah, I by no means am a politician or government studies at all. I majored in science and massage therapy. So this was all educational for me.
Yeah, I did healthcare before this. I went to school for like nursing and stuff. So yeah, somehow it was the 2016 election that really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, personally, when 2016 happened, I put my faith in the Justice Democrats, and I thought, keep in mind, I was born I was raised a Republican, but like just everything that happened, I was like, okay, well, that's not a party anymore. So we'll give these guys a shot. And then that they sort of just went with Washington, and then it was like, hey, okay, put our faith in Bernie. That didn't pan out. Then it was like, oh, let's do draft Jesse. And now it's like the Force the Vote and the People's Party movement, which I'm all for. I hope it works, but like I don't like people need immediate relief. They don't have time to wait for elections.
Yeah, and when we're talking about going through and getting change done through elections, we're talking decades that we don't have. I mean, this is a very long-term solution. I mean, we need change now, especially with the everything going on with the climate crisis and people out in the streets, and homeless, millions of new homeless people being created the past year. I mean, we just don't have time to wait. People without health care, so that's why I think this is so important because I mean, we can actually do the things that instead of sitting around and waiting for it to be done for us, waiting for a euro.
We can do it. And the cool thing about this is that even though we can get 52 laws passed in a year after that a national poll, it only takes between a year to 2 years to get it enacted into law. So let's say 65 million people see this tonight, we get it open, and then we do like 3-6 months to get a national vote going. Then maybe before the 2020 election, we could have healthcare.
Yeah. And it sounds like a long time, but I mean, compared to if we just sit around and wait for a politician to do it, a little bit later is a lot sooner than never, because they're never going to give us these things, because we're not allowed to have a win.
That's very
so
true.
yeah. So I think, especially now, I'm going to be pushing really hard for this. I'm going to be trying to get the word out there and bring some more people on board. I'm going to talk to, because I go over to Roar Media, their channel a lot, and tell them about it, talk about it on there. So, and they have a pretty steady group of people from all kinds of different places. So
I'm willing to talk to anybody. Like,
yeah,
I don't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I should have I should have had them come on tonight, but I wasn't sure if they were doing a show here in a little bit. But yeah, I'll talk to them about having you come on over there, because I'm sure I'm a little rusty when it comes to doing the interviews. I don't know if you noticed this. I'm used to getting on here and just shooting my mouth off, but and I'm like, okay,
I enjoy it.
You gotta be professional here.
I enjoy it.
So I'm glad. Yeah, it was really great having you on here. Let me see if we've got anybody in chat that has any questions. So yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat saying that Gravel showing their support. So I didn't hear, did he pass away?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Oh, I thought you said something that he did. I was like, oh my God. I mean, okay. Yeah. So I need to get that book for sure. I mean, it's it's not that long.
No, and
Like about 300 pages or something.
no, it's just 80 pages.
Oh, what? Oh, well,
Yeah,
shoot.
it's like a really short, like, how to do all this stuff, and truthfully, a majority of it is him just like giving credit to a lot of, like, there's a 3 or 4 pages that are just like, uh thanks for also helping put it together. So there's also a lot of names in there.
Okay, so it was so sweet hearing him talk about that because he's like, yeah, there's a lot of names in there because I mean he's been on Ron Placone's channel. That was a really good interview too. But he was talking about all these people that shaped viewpoints and his ideas and stuff. And so yeah, there's a lot of thanks in there, a lot of people to thank. But yeah, I mean that's cool that he did that. Okay, so I haven't seen. Oh, ask her if she's going to get the vaccine. Uh, we're just talking about um, the Citizens Initiative thing right now, but we can talk about stuff like that on the next one. I just want to keep this one topic straight and to the point. But we're approaching about 30 minutes now, so we're going to go ahead. If you have any finishing thoughts, words of wisdom for everybody.
uh Educate yourself, and when you're sure you want to be a lawmaker, come sign the petition.
Awesome. And I'll be putting all that in the description, all the links. So there's about like 3 to 5 links I'm going to put in there on how you can support, for more information, things like that. But anyway, Shelley, it was really great having you on here. I'm so glad that you reached out to me. And I'm going to talk to them over on Roar Media and see if we can get you on over there too.
Thank you so much for having me on. Hopefully Sharif can make the next one.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off of here. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for watching. Please go sign the petition. I'm going to go put that in the description box now. So, and, just thanks for being here, and we'll catch you next time.